Hey guys, got another build. So this one is Cold Dot, and I can't say that I can recommend this as a League starter. I think the damage is gonna be a little bit too low for 3 buttons. I do have it like set up in here, and I also like lowered even the levels over here and all that, so it's more realistic. But like 300k for 3 buttons, I don't know if Well, obviously the ones aren't super crazy. They're just something that you can get very realistically. But 300k DPS for 3 buttons. I'm not sure if I'm willing to play that. Well, I mean, I'm starting Scorgero, so I'm not gonna be playing this. But in case if you wanted to, there's an option for you to sort of start this, right? But Cold Dot actually seems to be pretty good after all the upgrades. Well, after all the buffs. So I do have Cold Snap in here, +1 level. You can get 21, right? Like normally. I do have Cold Snap in here leveled. Creeping Frost did not get a buff, sadly, so it's at 21. Whoops. And Vortex also got a buff, so I also leveled it, although it's a little bit more than that. And also this doesn't take into account the damage effectiveness, so you're gonna still be getting a little bit more damage than what we have right now, but against bosses with convergence on, you will have like probably about 8 million DPS, which is for a dot build, it's pretty good, right? Because on dot builds, damage uptime is very nice. So like the 8 million DPS feels like 20 million DPS, or well, maybe not to that extent, right? But yeah, it just feels good because it's a dot and you can just dodge and not need to worry about stuff. But regardless, to get here, you still need quite a few decent items. One of them is Impossible Escape here, Necromantic Aegis. Um, this is primarily for like quality of life, and I think this also gives us more effect, which caps our chill to 40, which increases damage taken. Uh, Sorry, not damage taken. Well, yeah, damage taken from Bone Chill, as well as the new Ascendancy point on Shaper of Winter also will reduce the damage they deal by half, so by 20%, right? And combine that with them being 40% slower, and that's just like the bosses are going to be doing nothing. This also serves another purpose, so it's in case if you need more mana cost for Kitava's Thirst, because I have Kitava's Thirst, that's how we're automating Vortex in here. So in case if you do need extra mana on your Creeping Frost, you can allocate this right now with the gems and levels. More specifically, is what sort of pushes it past 100. I did have to use concentrate effect in here, so the mapping will feel a little bit worse than you would like. But we have convergence disabled while mapping, so it's probably gonna be fine, right? And also we have Cold Snap, although Cold Snap is 4 length, so it doesn't deal as much damage, and it's primarily just for Bone Chill. I mean, it still deals a good amount. It's like 1 million. So, for mapping, for tier 16 mapping, you might be able to just use one Cold Snap and the mobs will die. If not, just use Creeping Frost. Creeping Frost is a good chunk of our damage. Then, of course, there's Vortex as well. So Vortex is also a little bit over 1 million damage. It is stationary though, so, But Impossible Escape over here, pretty good for this specific build. Duration we can use, of course. So we need to cast less. Storm Shroud, once you once you get into late game and you start thinking about the element immunes, Storm Shroud, of course, lets us ignore all that. Of course, you do need the Ghastly Jewel because we're not at the bottom side of the tree where we can grab these, right? So you don't necessarily need the Ghastly Jewel, just any Abyss Jewel with shock avoidance, right? So get that. I think you can also get it on one of the influence belts, but generally I'm not sure if I would be doing that. But you also need a little bit of mana regen. Right now I have a little bit too much. You don't really need 270 because you don't need to cast like non-stop, right? Because you're playing a dot build. Most important thing is for you to have enough mana where after casting Creeping Frost, your Kitava can still use Vortex, which is in this case 68 mana and 106 from that, so that's 174 mana. So in this case, I have it. If you don't, just like the rolls that they have on these things, like they're pretty mediocre. you know, like medium rolls. So you don't even, oh, this one's pretty good. So you don't need to cap out the rolls, but you know, also Amulet has nothing. It has +2, of course. +2 is fairly expensive, so this is a little bit more geared toward late game. +2 wands as well with damage or time multiplier. You might not be able to get it that fast, right? If you get a +1 with damage multiplier and then you slap on spell damage, it's going to be good enough for early game. Although it's very likely that you're going to have to actually go for more mana over here. And let me check. Actually, if we reduce 2 levels, let's say we have +1. No, all right, yeah, it's still going to be fine. So you're good. Oh yeah, quick first level 2 now. So you're good. You know, just make sure you have your mana cost is 100. That, you know, like I said, concentrated effect 140 multiplier. Previously I had something else, I can't remember. But this lets us reach that 100 breakpoint, even without so many plus levels. So yeah, that is fixed by that. I am grabbing some of the golem nodes, the fizz ones primarily, because we're going to be getting them. We're going to have golems being immune to elemental damage from Liege of the Primordial, right? I do grab some physical resist over here, just so they're a little bit tankier. Since we're not a minion build, it's likely that they will die, and we don't have them linked to anything because we're out of slots. You know, these are in our wands, so because we're using like so many spells, right? So we don't really have slots for links for them. So they're gonna be still sometimes dying, maybe not. I don't know. Like the mobs are gonna be chilled, and maybe you're just gonna kill them before the enemies walk up. So you know, important part is that they survive against bosses, and since they're immune to elemental damage, that's like 90% of the damage of the bosses anyway. So they should be fine. What else? What else? So we have a cluster in here. I have Primordial Bond, just for a little bit of extra effect, and also the minion nodes, since I am taking Spiritual Aid. It's a little bit of damage, you know, 11%, so it's pretty good. And also these nodes help the minions regen a little bit, so you know it's fine, and gives us regen, which we can use because we're using Zealot's Oath and CI. So that means we're generating energy shield, and we do have some evasion, so you know, energy recharge will still proc. But of course, if you want, you can always have this. You know, if that's how you prefer to play. But other than that, you know, just grab some of the cold nodes, and they did say that they're going to be adding some new cold nodes, so maybe those are good, so grab those instead. I don't know, but you know, as it is right now, this is sort of the tree. I do have golems in here as well, just for, you know, for good measure in maps, and of course dex to int, right, just because we have much more int. You will need to fix stats, the dexterity primarily, so well, I have nothing on the items as per usual, so just get whatever you can, and you know, fix the resistances however you can. You can also use the jewel for resistances, as well as the cluster. We don't take too many nodes over here, but you know, potentially you can still get like 6 all stats or something like that from this jewel. Maybe a little bit more if you focus just on stats, right? And yeah, that's about it, to be honest. You know, it's a cold DoT build that actually turned out pretty good, and like I've said, you know, with the buffs not being completely accounted, it's still going to be a little bit more damage. The defenses in this build aren't great because well, I'm CI and evasion based, so fizz hits are automatically pretty bad, right? And I'm using a helmet, so I can't get conversion from there. I can't take the new Shaper node because I don't ignite, but the 20 damage reduction that we're going to be getting from Shaper of Winter is going to help. So at least the max visit isn't going to be completely horrible. It's just going to be, you know, not great. And you know, you have this thing as well. So when you activate that, and then there's also 20% more from the Shaper of Winter, right? And from the items, of course, and the body armor, you get Fist to Chaos. You can always upgrade it, of course, but as per usual, I just left this and at the lesser level, so you just sort of know what to get. Do get cold exposure and hit on here, because we don't hit too often. The mastery with 10% is just not gonna cut it, and we do have strong exposure, so make sure this is probably gonna be the first thing that you're gonna wanna get on your, like when you get into like the mid game and you have some Eldritch Currents, right? This is probably the first thing you're gonna want, and probably the Chaos, right? And for boots, Elemental Ailment, so it's up to you if you wanna roll for them early, but I probably wouldn't. Just 6 portal defense, go for it. And yeah, the items, can always be better, but they are pretty expensive as is. You can also potentially play with like influence items. I don't know what you would get. I think there's some for with Redeemer. I don't know. You can also get like frenzy charges if you want, but they're gonna be pretty hard to come by. So, well, technically, Cold Snap gives us frenzy charges while mapping, but I don't have it enabled in here. But still a little bit of damage. And yep, that is it. Like I've said, I can't exactly recommend this as a league starter because I've never played a cold DoT, and it's 3 buttons, so it's not for everyone. But if you have played it in the past and you just wanna, start playing cold DoT, I have the early game things. So if you want, you could be using that. Anyway, that is it for today, and I will probably see you tomorrow. Bye bye.